Hi, Purple Ella here and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk to you about coping strategies. And by coping strategies I mean the things that we choose to do when we are feeling overloaded or overwhelmed or dealing with difficult emotions. So I know that for me, making healthy choices when I'm choosing coping strategies is something that's been a real problem. And I have definitely made some fairly unhealthy choices in the ways that I've managed being overloaded or being overwhelmed by my emotions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about the kinds of unhealthy coping strategies that I have turned to and the kinds of healthy coping strategies that I try to turn to now and that I sort of hope that long term will become the strategies that I choose to use most of the time. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about why we turn to these coping strategies, what it is that makes us make unhealthy choices, and how we can maybe move forwards towards leaning more towards healthy choices. Let's start with the unhealthy choices that Ella has made when trying to cope with her emotions. Overload, sensory overload, and overload from just life, too much socialising, too much activity, not enough time alone, can feel really overwhelming to me. I know that to start off with I have alexithymia, which means that I have a really hard time identifying my emotions. So when I get an emotion it just feels like a big scary thing that I need to deal with, address and get rid of. And additionally, overload from that sensory stuff feels very similar and can very quickly turn into overwhelming emotion. So because I've been dealing with these kinds of feelings since quite a young age and well decades before I knew that I was autistic, I kind of adapted some unhealthy coping strategies that then became my go-to, that then became the thing that I've been doing for quite a long time. The first and obvious one of these is smoking. I first smoked when I was about 14 and I very quickly learned that if I smoked when I was having a big overwhelming overload moment, I would very quickly be able to regulate my anxiety. What I didn't recognise was that actually what I was doing was starting a anxiety cycle in which I would start craving nicotine and then be back at square one within a couple of hours. To me, all I could see was, I do this and I feel better. Up until very recently, if I really became very overwhelmed, it really felt like the only option. And additionally, if I wasn't able to choose that option, then I would very quickly go into meltdown, which would make the people around me feel that maybe that was the only option. Fortunately, I have actually made the decision to stop smoking, and I am going to be doing Stoptober, and we're now on the 5th of October, which means that I'm on day 5 without smoking, which I'm really pleased about because I have actually had quite a difficult week with personally quite a lot to manage, and I've managed to cope with meltdowns without smoking, which feels like a big step for me, because in the past when I've managed to give up successfully, it's been because I've had a period of time where there wasn't any stressor, and then as soon as the stressor came back in I would smoke. So it feels like getting through that without that feeling, without smoking, feels like if I can do that then I can actually get off of this horrible addiction. One of the other things that I've often chosen to do when I'm feeling overwhelmed or overloaded is run away. Just run away. So I could be in a car with people driving along and I'd ask them to pull over and just get up and run away, or I could be in my house, you know, doing the family thing and it becomes too much and I just have to go somewhere, or even just if we're walking down the street I might just run away, and it's really hard for me to admit this because I'm aware that it doesn't paint me in the best light, but that is the reality of what I do. I run because I guess because part of me knows that if I don't run I'm going to really lose it and potentially do damage to relationships, or just that's how I feel. I feel like, no, like I can't stay, I have to protect you from me, so I have to run away. And also it's just like, it's not even that like thought out, it's just a need to be somewhere else. So one of the other coping strategies that I have that's unhealthy is skin picking. So the skin around my fingers is really badly bitten, and because, as I said, there's a lot going on for me personally this week, I have actually done quite a lot of damage, so that is quite painful now. So that's probably my least unhealthy coping strategy, but it's not healthy and I'm aware that it would be good if I didn't do that. Having recognised that what I do with that feeling is something. So lately I've been working really hard on finding some healthy coping strategies that work. Basically wanting to be someone who can manage my emotions independently and in healthy ways. So the suggestions that I've come up with for myself based on the things that make me feel better is, number one, yoga. I find yoga really helpful to help me feel centered and calm down. There's a lot of breathing involved in yoga, and also I'm quite a physical person, so those kinds of stretches and things just really calm me down. Another one of those strategies is mindfulness or meditation, although it is very hard in that moment of overwhelmed to choose to do some mindfulness. So I would say that's more of a pre-coping strategy. Have it in place so that you're already keeping yourself regulated, so that when you get to those moments you're more likely to make a good choice. Another one is my special interests. I can really lose myself in doing some Lego or doing some Fimo, or you know, whatever it is that you do that is an escape from your brain, if you like. Not using it to run away and using it too much, but if you just need an hour of calm time, have those special interests ready to go so that you can throw yourself into that. Another one is more planned and controlled time with my friends or with my family. So rather than going, I need you right now and I need something from you and I need you to save me, to Mr. Purple or to my friends, going, okay, there's stuff going on for me at the moment. It's likely that at points I'm going to be overwhelmed and overloaded and potentially have meltdowns. So I'm going to contact a few of my closest friends and I'm going to talk to Mr. Purple. I'm going to explain to them how I'm feeling and that it would be useful if they could possibly spare some time for me to talk it through at some point in the next week or two. Because in that moment I can feel like I need something right now, and if it's not now it's not going to be any good, when actually having that in the diary as a planned time that I know that I'm going to be able to share kind of takes the pressure off right now, and when the time comes it's really useful and it can help calm me down, and it also makes me feel like I've handled things in a mature way and in a way that will help me keep friends rather than driving them away, and so that kind of boost my self-esteem a bit as well whenever I'm managing relationships well, and that makes me feel good about myself. And finally, one of the things that I've started doing really recently that has been really helpful is journaling. So Wonder Girl for my birthday bought me a really great unicorn notepad, and because I'm not one for writing very much, I kind of wanted to find a way to use the notepad, and it's proven really helpful. So sometimes it's a case of journaling something positive that happened that day in order to feel that positive things are happening, and sometimes it's a case of, in that moment when I'm really close to meltdown or really overloaded, just scribbling all the thoughts, kind of stream of consciousness, out onto the paper and getting them out of my head. Or sometimes I might write poetry, and I find that quite a useful way to get those thoughts out, like in a real expression of my emotion. Or I might draw pictures, using the act of writing to get stuff out of my head onto paper and feeling more manageable. So why do I end up making unhealthy choices? Why have I in the past ended up making unhealthy choices? Why are we not kind of, if nature worked well, why are we not programmed to want to make healthy choices? And I think thinking about that, for me, it's definitely a case of having struggled in childhood because of undiagnosed, unsupported autism. Nobody was guiding me in how to manage the extra levels of anxiety and the overactive amygdala that I was dealing with that my peers weren't dealing with. So I had to figure it out for myself. And age 12, I wasn't capable, or age 13 or whatever, of making rational and reasonable choices. So I know that that's part of it. And once you've kind of attached yourself to an unhealthy coping strategy, whatever that might be, then to actually make yourself believe that something else could work. So you end up kind of stuck in a cycle of being all right, not doing that unhealthy thing, struggling, getting sucked back into that unhealthy thing, pulling yourself out of it, and it can be like a real cycle that is not moving forward and is not helping. Because it's all well and good being able to cope with being autistic and being able to cope with emotions when things are going well. That's a great achievement, and that's something that I've definitely kind of feel like I'm there with. But when things aren't going well, that's the real challenge, and that's the kind of area that I want to address now, because there are going to be times that I don't feel good. That's just the human condition. So I need to be able to manage that and not be scared by that. And so that kind of moves me on nicely to that I want to learn to sit with negative feelings. So like thinking about it like this, if I have like a physical pain, because you know I've got a chronic illness, I often get pain in my muscles, or I'll get earache, or I'll get sore throat just randomly because, you know, hey, the joys of chronic fatigue syndrome. I don't freak out and feel like I need to do something about that physical pain. I go, oh, I'm in physical pain now. I might take some pain relief because that's a sensible choice to make, but I kind of know that it's not going to be forever, and I know that I'm going to feel better at some point. So I want to start applying that to emotional pain and to overwhelm and to overload. If I feel anxious, stressed, emotional, rather than having that panic me, to be able to go, I'm going to feel like this now. I'm not going to feel like this forever. I'm going to feel like this now, and then at some point I'm not going to feel like this. And that's kind of, I find that quite liberating, the idea that I don't have to fix that emotion immediately. I can just let it be. And I'm not talking about wallowing, I'm talking about being like, that's how I feel, and soon I'm going to feel better, and in the meantime, these are the things that I can do to help me move towards a place of feeling better. They might not fix it immediately, but they'll certainly kind of carry me through that time. This is the hope moving forward, especially having a real determination right now to not smoke again. So, one of the things that I would recommend and that I'm going to take on board myself is to make a list of healthy coping strategies, so that when you are feeling overwhelmed or overloaded, you've not got to think or make decisions. You've just got to look at the list and pick the one that feels right in that moment and do it. And I would urge you to sort of force yourself to do it. Sometimes you can, when you're feeling like that, or when you're near meltdown, you can be like, oh yeah, but it's not going to work, I'm not going to do it. That's what, well, maybe that's just me, I don't know. But actually, if I just do it, it can make a difference. And I think the more that I do that, and the more that I can use my list, use a healthy coping strategy, move forward, the more that I'm going to gain confidence. Like I have that confidence that if I smoke, I'm going to feel better. If I run away, I'm going to feel better. Like I've put confidence onto those strategies, I can shift that confidence onto, these are the things that I do when I struggle, and these are the choices that I make, and they work in time. I don't know. I'll keep you posted and let you know how that goes. What do you think? Are you using healthy coping strategies to manage your emotions and your overloads and your meltdowns? Or are you, like me, kind of stuck in a cycle of having made bad choices in the past that have now become your coping strategies moving forward? Would you like to move on from that with me? Let's do it together. And as always, please like this video and please subscribe to my channel. Also, what do you think about my new background? So one of the things I wanted to do was kind of have a regular backdrop so that you guys aren't getting distracted by various different locations in my house or traffic noises or whatever. So I've picked this because I think it's probably the quietest, and also an opportunity for me to show off my Lego. I might move Lego sets around so you get to see the different sets that I've got. Anyway, thanks for watching today, and I will be back next week with another video with Roz, an Autism in Company video. So if you've got anything that you want to ask Roz and I in the meantime, do leave a comment in the comment box below. Thanks for watching. Bye!